Hello and welcome to another edition of ATL Prime Sports. A tradition unlike any other since 1934. It's Masters Weekend. I'm JJ Jurjevich. Joining me this evening is the one, the only Larry Gardner, your PA voice of the Rome Emperors, and of course our fabulous producer Wayne Ridenauer in wonderful Memphis, Tennessee. You can catch us all on social media at ATL Prime Sports. That's Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, and of course, Apple and Spotify. Our personal X's at JJ Get You One for myself, at RWY Jr. for Wayne, at LG4 Real though for Larry Gardner, and at Corder Todd for TC Todd Corder, who is umpiring some more high school baseball this evening. It's been a while, man. How you been?
It has been a while, fellas, but I am doing wonderful here in Northwest Georgia. No complaints. Excited about all the baseball that's taking place. Excited about some of the spring football games that are taking place. And like many of you, excited that this is Masters Weekend. And as you introduce the show, a tradition unlike any other. We're looking forward to seeing what goes down this weekend at Augusta National.
Wayne, how you doing, buddy?
Well, it's been raining the last couple of days here in Memphis, and I can already feel the yard work piling up and ideas of things that I'm wanting to do. So maybe I need to start a new a show called MEM Prime Yard Work.
Memphis Prime Yard Work, Memph.
Hey,
well,
that's
Wayne,
a great idea, Wayne. Keep it up.
Yeah. All right.
The yard looks great. You keep us informed on the old X, and we really appreciate it, man. You do some pretty good, unique yard work. I'm doing pretty well. Not as well as Major League Baseball's #1 prospect, Jackson Holliday, though, who is making his Major League debut tonight for the Baltimore Orioles. The second baseman, son of Matt Holliday, former MLB big leaguer for the Rockies and Cardinals and a couple other teams mixed in there, I believe. But #1 prospect, making his debut tonight. That is better than I am doing, no matter what. What's on tap for today's show? We review the madness that was March and April in college basketball. We talk, why are there so many dadgum pitching injuries, especially at elbows, with these pitchers today? And should the Braves sign Trevor Bauer? And we'll get into the Masters with our final thought. And let's start this thing off in Major League Baseball. The rash of pitching injuries in Major League Baseball is overwhelming, folks. Why is this happening at such an alarming rate? Larry, you had some key thoughts on Twitter, on X, and I'd like you to tee those off for our listeners. And you're around a lot of baseball, man. You see some of these young guys come in and single A in Rome, rip their arms up early, get a TJ surgery, and keep on going, man. What are your thoughts on this rash of injuries to Major League Baseball pitchers?
No, I'm a firm believer that it starts way, way back down at the little league level, where these kids become specialized athletes as early as 7 years old. I'll go back to 20 years ago. I worked at a local recreation department here in our local town of Adairsville, and we would see kids come up, and you would have these teams where kids would be pitching, and you're talking 7, 8-year-old kids trying to learn how to throw a curveball. Well, then you take the madness that has become travel ball for most of these kids, and they're playing baseball all year long. Their arm doesn't get to rest, and then they are pushed by everybody in their circles for maximum velocity and maximum spin rate, and all you're doing is just wearing those elbow joints and those shoulder joints down. And those tendons can only take so much. And you've thrown, by the time you go through a high school kid's career, you've thrown so many innings that by the time they get in the minor leagues, and God forbid that they do make it to the show, you're starting to see those joints and those tendons wear down. That's why you're starting to see the ligament injuries and the pitch counts. And I had an argument. I ain't gonna call it an argument. I had a discussion with someone on X or Twitter, and they wanted to make the comparison that Nolan Ryan and Bob Gibson and all of these other old pitchers could throw 300 innings and not miss a beat with the same velocity. And it's not the same because they were not playing baseball all year long from the time of 7 years old to the time they got into the majors. Everything is so specialized now with technology and with stats, and everybody wants to be these analytical pitching gurus, and they don't let kids get the chance to play multiple sports to allow their arms to rest. And some of the things that we grew up in, you know, even though we played football and we threw a football, it is an entirely different motion to throw a football than it is a baseball. So you had different opportunities for different muscle groups to rest. It doesn't matter how often you play those 3 or 4 sports.
Yeah.
Your muscles can continue to grow and develop and get a chance to rest. If you continue from 7 years old to 22 years old and you don't do anything but throw, it's like a brand new car coming out the showroom floor and all you're doing is making cross-country trips from Georgia to California. At some point, you'll have a 2020 Toyota Camry with 400,000 miles on it. It's about to break down.
Yeah, well
and that's
said.
why the arms are doing the same thing in the majors.
Yeah, well said, Larry. I agreed with you. I liked the tweet. I retweeted it on the Prime account, on my personal account. And let me tell you, I think that's where it starts. I also think it starts with the front offices in Major League Baseball going, hey, you know what? Maybe we don't need velocity as much, because there are guys like Greg Maddux, John Smoltz, Tom Glavine, who were able to pitch extreme amounts of innings for long careers without hardly having any elbow trouble. Now, obviously, John Smoltz had his Tommy John surgery and went to the bullpen for a while, but he was able to revamp his career because he was throwing. He was pitching. He wasn't throwing. Here's a couple stats for you guys. 38 pitchers in a 13-month span have gone down with UCL injuries requiring surgery. 38 in a 13-month span. That's nuts. By the end of the year last year, going by 2023 statistics, 31 of the 64 hardest throwing pitchers in Major League Baseball underwent Tommy John surgery at some point in their careers. And here's another one. Again, Spencer Strider was quoted just recently saying front offices pay for strikeouts. That's alarming, because you know what? They don't put the ball in play as much as they used to in terms of just putting a bat on it, getting defensive with 2 strikes, because a strikeout is king. I mean, statistic-wise, it's one of the best things a defense can do in Major League Baseball. A pitcher, obviously, is what I'm talking about there. But look, here's another thing, Larry, to back your point up. Rewind to 2008. The average velocity of a fastball in Major League Baseball was 90.5 miles per hour. Fast forward to the end of 2023, that number topped 94. So in less than 15, 20 seasons, you're talking about nearly 4 miles an hour increased because of the analytics, the specialization of players, but the tax comes with it. And that is Tommy John surgery. And again, nearly half of the pitchers who threw the ball hard had Tommy John surgery by the end of last year, according to StatCast in Major League Baseball. So very eye-opening. I think front offices, honestly, need to piggyback on what Larry said and kind of teach, hey, pitch, hit the outside corner, hit the inside corner, throw a breaking ball, throw that 91-mile-an-hour fastball. Justin Verlander was interviewed, had about a 4-minute answer as to why guys can't throw like they used to, and he's right. There's a lot. Maybe it is a little bit of the pitch clock. I can't discredit that completely, but I don't believe the pitch clock and throwing within 25 seconds or 20 seconds, whatever it is the reason these players are getting hurt. I think it's the high intensity from Little League on up, and it's all mixed into what you just said, Larry. You have Little League coaches seeing a kid throw a curveball 1 time, 2 times, then he's like, oh, well, we can perfect it and get it to spin rate. And I have this chart right here I found on X, and it's going to pop up if you're watching the YouTube channel, about spin rates and speed. And spin rates have gone completely up, as well as velocity. And then we have all seen the injuries come up. So with the spin rate, with the velocity comes injuries. It's the Venn diagram in the middle. The injuries are there for both of them. So I don't know how to fix this problem. I don't know if front offices start finding guys like, hey, look at Bryce Elder. That guy doesn't have that high velocity fastball, but he was an all-star, NL all-star last year. And now he's back in AAA, and he may make his way back up with the Strider injury. We'll get that in a second. But it's just absolutely mind-blowing, the amount of injuries that are going on right now. And I don't think it's the pitch clock. But again, I will be honest, and if we're being honest, I can't say the pitch clock helped, but I can't say that's the reason for the injuries either. I think these injuries were piling up. Look, this is Spencer Strider's second Tommy John surgery. You're talking about Shohei Ohtani, Garrett Cole, and Wayne's going to pop up another graphic with Yuri Perez, Alcantara, Valdez in Houston just went down with some soreness. I mean, so many guys are going down. It's just absolutely alarming, and something's got to be done about it. And I think what it starts with is getting rid of so much of the analytics. I think they're good for a little portion, Larry, and I'll let you piggyback on this. I think analytics are good for a little bit, but sometimes you got to let a guy pitch. You got to let a guy get through the batting order 3 times, because that's what pitching's all about. And the one thing that caught my attention with Justin Verlander was saying incentivize pitchers. Maybe correlate with the designated hitter, where you only get the designated hitter as long as you're starting pitchers in the game. Something like that. Maybe that's a way to do it, because we have to incentivize guys throwing longer and staying healthier, because hey, look, after 2 career surgeries, I don't know how many guys come back from a third Tommy John surgery. Larry, any finishing thoughts or final thoughts on that to piggyback?
Yeah, I'll give you 2. First and foremost, some of the most prolific pitchers in Major League Baseball history never threw a pitch faster than 76 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I can give you 2 of them off the top of my head: Phil Niekro and Tim Wakefield.
Yep.
Never did they ever throw a pitch, and they were extremely successful and had very lengthy Major League Baseball careers. What has happened is, as people have gotten to the point to where you find out if a kid has some talent or not, they are being taught to throw. They're not being taught to locate. And the art of pitching has always been change your speed, change your location. And if you can do that, you can have a very lengthy career. Look at Steven Strasburg. We thought he was going to be the next coming of Nolan Ryan. And he's already retired because arm is shot from attempting to reach 100 miles an hour on a jug gun, because that's what people are enamored with. What people need to become enamored with is the art of getting outs, regardless of how you do it. You don't necessarily have to always be a flamethrower to be an efficient pitcher. I'm telling y'all gonna laugh at me, and I'm gonna show my age a little bit. Growing up, the number one enemy of the Braves, which was my heart and still is my team, was the Dodgers. They had 2 pitchers that would come to Atlanta Fulton County Stadium and would wreak havoc on the Braves. One, Fernando Valenzuela.
Yep.
And he threw a screwball. The screwball would break the ankles of several Braves hitters. The second pitcher, and you'll recognize his name because he's a little bit more popular, but that's Oral Hershiser.
Yeah.
And he was more of the tactician, sort of like what Greg Maddux was. He was able to change speeds. He was able to take the eye level of the ball up and down because he had so many pitches he could use in his arsenal. It doesn't always take you having to throw 100 miles an hour or throwing a curveball that starts at 2 o'clock and end at 7:30.
Yeah.
You don't have to have that. They thought Tim Lincecum was going to be that kind of guy for San Francisco, and look what happened to him. He just faded away. Barry Zito, another name that people know from the A's. Two names that
Yep.
you can think about from the Cubs: Kerry Wood, Mark Pryor. They were flamethrowers for the Cubs. Both of them careers short because they couldn't maintain that level of velocity. And it's going to take everybody from the little league level all the way up to not take advantage of these kids and not look at what's going to be better suited for them, but what's better suited for the game itself. Because if you put them in a position to where they learn the art of pitching, it's going to be better for everybody all the way around.
Yeah, a little guy named Greg Maddox, he's a pretty good pitcher. He topped out about 89. Said, I tell you what I'm going to throw. I'm going to throw an 89-mile-an-hour cutter, and you're not going to know it's coming because I'm going to disguise it so well with my other pitches. And he paints the corners and did it extremely well. And I'm pretty sure he's a Hall of Famer. So if that guy can do it, I'm pretty sure we can get several other guys to follow suit and do the exact same thing you and I are saying, is preach pitching, not velocity. Pitch the ball. That means location, changing speeds, going through the batting lineup 3 times. That is pitching to me. Going into the 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th innings, those are valuable pitchers, and there's few and far between. Wayne, you had a comment on this, and we'll get out of Major League Baseball's injury rash and talk about the Braves injury rash.
Yeah, well, Larry brought up some good points there, and I think one of the main ones was, varying the muscle groups and how they're being used, and I think that would go really far because if you're teaching a kid to only pitch baseball from the time he's 8 years old, he's just working those muscle groups and those joints in a similar fashion all the time. And it really didn't have to be a sport where you're using different muscle groups. You could just be using those same muscle groups just in a different way. And the second thought, I guess the short one would be, it seems like these injuries are born out of a desire to keep the batter from hitting instead of keeping the batter from scoring. And if the pitchers would worry less about their, how many times they get hit on and let the players in the field do their job, I think you have a lot less of this issue too.
Wayne, that's a great point. It is a great point. Pitching for contact is a lost art. I tell you who does a pretty good job of it right now is Jesse Chavez out of the Atlanta Braves bullpen. He's in his 40s. He's made a great career out of locating and getting guys out with the ground ball. Nothing wrong with that. Guys, let's move forward. Let's talk about these Braves. We mentioned the Spencer Strider injury. It's not looking good. The latest news, it was revealed in the MRI that there was some damage to the UCL, and here we are now. We're waiting for another week or so, and there's some Dave O'Brien. I can't remember who it was. A couple of Braves beat writers are saying, oh, they're just going to wait to have the surgery, and then they're going to announce he had a successful surgery. So it seems like Spencer Strider is on the outside looking in of pitching in 2024. And with that being said, should the Braves sign Trevor Bauer with Strider's UCL injury? I'll tee this one off because I've been excited about this one. This is what I want to talk about the most here. If Strider's UCLA, I've been doing this nearly all day. I put the A on it like it's a college. If Strider's UCL requires surgery, yes. I would attempt to go sign Trevor Bauer. I believe in second chances. And since Bauer was not charged with any crime, he deserves a shot. One. Also, a career 3.79 ERA, 83 big league wins. That helps a lot too. The guy's won a lot of ball games at this level. There are other options, but yeah, I personally think the guy deserves a second chance. The Atlanta Braves gave one to Marcell Ozuna, and we saw the domestic issue, then a drunk driving issue. Back to back. If I'm not mistaken, Larry, you may want to help me out. I think it was back-to-back seasons. It may have been even the same season. But I do think it was back-to-back seasons it happened. They gave Marcell a second shot, and look what he's doing. He's leading the team. And he's a team leader right now, on and off the field. He's changed his ways, and he's swinging one of the hottest bats in Major League Baseball. The guy's got, what, five or six home runs, 4, 5, or 6 home runs already. Handful of RBIs, had a great start to the season. And we all remember what we said last year about Marcell Ozuna at this point. We were talking about cutting him, straight up getting him off the team. But again, it's that second chance. And I revert it back to Trevor Bauer. A guy would be hungry, especially in a lineup like this where he'll get the run support to where he can get the kinks out for several weeks. They don't need him right away. They'd have to let him ramp up in AAA, AA, single A. Larry, you may get a call some Bauer games if they sign him. But I definitely think he deserves another chance. If they don't go that way, and it's looking like they won't, there's plenty of other options. So it's not doom and gloom in Atlanta because Spencer Strider's done and he was a Cy Young candidate and one of the favorites to win the award. Folks, the Braves know how to win without star players. They did in 21 with Acuna. We'll use that example for all of eternity. Other options include A.J. Smith-Shawver, right-hander, had some success last year. He's a pretty high velo guy. Can get guys out, has a wicked slider along with a great fastball. Bryce Elder, as I mentioned earlier, all-star last year. Guy is low velocity, but likes to locate, pitch for contact. And when he's on, we all seen what he can do. And the third and fourth options, this Waldrop guy, right-handed pitcher, number 1 overall draft pick for the Braves last year, out of University of Florida. The guy's done nothing but move up. Larry, you saw him pitch a couple times in Rome, moved to AA to AAA, pitched in all 4 minor league organizations for the Braves last year, and all he did was accumulate 29.1 innings, striking out 41 batters. So there are options down there for Braves fans, and you already see one of them. Lopez is going to he's probably going to be solidified as that 5th guy for the rest of the season now that Strider's out. So there's plenty of options. I think if it's going to be a long-term issue, why not give a guy a second chance? Larry, I'm anxious to hear your opinion, man.
Yeah, no, I don't have a problem if Atlanta decides to go that route. But the beautiful thing is you have enough proven arms in the stable in AAA that if you don't want to dip into that level in your money, you don't have to. It's a beautiful thing that when you're not in a position where you're forced to make a move, you can choose to make a move. Do I believe that Trevor deserves a second chance? Absolutely, because we all do. We all do. And I would be remiss if I would say that he shouldn't deserve another opportunity to pitch in the big leagues. But what I do know is Bryce Elder can do it. We saw him in the first half last season being an all-star. Darius Vines looks good. We saw him pitch at Rome. We saw AJ pitch at Rome. We saw Hurston pitch at Rome. You know, Huascar Inoa is building up and getting back to himself after an injury. And what people still forget is, and I'm looking forward because I know he'll probably do a injury stint at Rome too, is Ian Anderson will be back about around Memorial Day, 1st of June too. And people forget how important he was to the Atlanta Braves pitching success during the World Series run and the year before as well. So you've got a lot of arms that are available to you to where you're not pressured into making a move. But the beauty of what we've witnessed as what I call Braves fans in the last 8-9 years is Alex Anthopoulos is going to make the move that's going to better his team if it makes dollars and cents.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. You mentioned Inoa. You mentioned Ian Anderson. We got Dylan Dodd, Dylan Lee. There's just a handful of options for Alex Anthopoulos and the general manager at his disposal for this Atlanta team. So don't jump into any conclusions on this. But I do think Bauer deserves another shot at Major League Baseball stardom. He's a former Cy Young Award winner, and a guy knows how to flat out pitch and get guys out. If you follow him on YouTube, Bauer Outage, I believe, is his YouTube or his Twitter. A really good follow. Does a lot of stuff pitching with junior college, high school kids, teaching guys this and that. I'd love to see him in a Braves uniform, but I completely understand on either side of the fence. That wraps up our Major League Baseball talk. Let's move over to college basketball real quick. It's almost hard to not talk about UConn and what just went down, but boy, congratulations to both the UConn men's and South Carolina women's basketball teams for winning the NCAA championships. And a big congratulations to Bam Bam Madness on winning the 2024 Atlanta Prime Sports Bracket Challenge. Let's talk some March Madness, guys. First, let's talk about these championship teams here. Two huge feats on both sides. UConn repeat.
Yeah, that didn't
Pretty
happen
impressive.
often.
First time in nearly 20 years since the Gators did it with Billy Donovan, Joakim Noah, Corey Brewer, Al Holford, former Hawk. And then the unbeaten season for Dawn Staley and the South Carolina Gamecock ladies. Absolutely phenomenal season. Seems like they were never down, never in doubt in any game. Beating Caitlin Clark, one of the greatest scorers of all time in any level of basketball, period. So two huge feats accomplished with a UConn Huskies national championship and a South Carolina women's Gamecock national championship. Just absolutely unbelievable. I thought it was really cool, guys. And then I'll throw it to the field here. The women national championship game audience, just under 20,000, right around 19 million. 20 million. 19 million people. The men's national championship game, 4 million less on average. So the women outdrew the men, which is pretty impressive and goes to show you how exciting Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Dawn Staley, and her Gamecocks were to college basketball in general, guys. Just hats off to a great college basketball season. Again, hats off to Bam Bam Madness. He killed everybody. A top 28,000 bracket. So he did really well. And we sent him a gift card. I'm hoping to show it'll show up and he'll post it on social media and say thanks for everybody. And guys, I'll throw it to you, Wayne. Your thoughts on the two national champions in college basketball?
Well, I kind of knew at the beginning of the year that that South Carolina's women's team were going to be out to prove that they were the best, even though last year they got beat by LSU in the final. And of course they did it because they went undefeated. 38 wins in one season is phenomenal, and I'm not sure that's ever been done again by any men's or women's team. I know Bobby Knight had a streak where he was undefeated, and then the guy out at UCLA in the early 70s, I should have remembered his name, but he was undefeated for a long time. But yeah, but to do it in one season, that's pretty remarkable. UConn, on the other hand, UConn used to be in Memphis's conference, and I just never have liked them, but they really did a phenomenal job of controlling the tempo in that game, and that's the one thing I think frustrated Purdue more than anything.
Yeah, it was an interesting game. Zach Edey played great, lights out in the first half, blocking shots, keeping them in the game. But UConn, too much size, too much shooting ability, and too much guard play. Larry, your thoughts on the two champions, and then we'll talk about the real madness, which was John Calipari leaving for another SEC school.
Yeah, absolutely. To continue the same sentiment about UConn, I think what really showed up is the X's and O's and the halftime adjustment that Coach Hurley made for UConn, and they were able 100%. To exploit what Purdue was not able to do, and that's keep up with the depth. UConn was just continuing to bring in fresh bodies, while Purdue was having to use the same legs, and eventually, I don't care who you are, running up and down that court will eventually wear you out if you don't get a chance to rest them legs. And you can see it. You can start seeing the fatigue set in about halfway through the second half. You can start seeing the fatigue set in for Purdue, and then UConn just saw the blood in the water, and they took advantage and rode the wave to the victory, of course. But what stood out for me for South Carolina and just the women's game in general is how invested people became in the women's game because they recognized the players that would be playing again. And I think that is the main thing that is hurting the men's game is UConn has won back-to-back titles. I guarantee you right now that other than the real diehard college basketball fans, the casual American fan could not name the top 5 players in college basketball right now who are probably going to declare for the NBA draft. And most folks would have no clue who those people are. But if you say the name Caitlin Clark, you say the names Angel Reed, you say, heck, you could name South Carolina's whole starting lineup, and most people know who they are. You know, Coach Staley. You know, they even start knowing the coaches with Kim Mulkey and shout out to, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit later, but Tennessee hired a slam dunk head coach.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think that's going to be a phenomenal hire for them. But the one and done rule is killing men's college basketball. And I do believe if Adam Silver would reinstate a rule, even if it's 2 years before you can go pro, because how many of these guys do you see that go pro but stay in the G League another year, another 2 years, another 3 years, that could have been on somebody's college team while they're getting better, not only getting better, but they're bringing more notoriety to the school that they're playing for, which then invests more people into the game, which grows the game, it grows the eyes, you know, and it's just beneficial for both parties involved. So kudos to both championship teams, the UConn men Huskies and the Lady Gamecocks from South Carolina, Coach Staley, Coach Hurley. They did a wonderful job. I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds for the ladies going into the WNBA. And then the comments that Miss Diana Taurasi had about one Miss Caitlin Clark and how reality is about to set in. I'm looking forward to how that's going to transpire. This will probably be one of the most watched WNBA seasons since the league's inception, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm all here for it too, man. I love women's college basketball and what it's done. That's a great point about you talking about the top 5 in the WNBA draft versus the top 5 in the NBA draft. And I do think that is why the women's college basketball overtook the men this year. Because imagine, folks, if Anthony Edwards was still in a UGA uniform right now. How exciting would that be down there in Athens, huh? You know, it'd be really fun to get to know these players in a college atmosphere.
Yeah, especially with the team that took to the NIT, JJ. No, I was just saying, thinking about what you just said with Anthony Edwards on that team, that they went to the Final Four in the NIT. That could have been a Final Four in the main tournament.
Yeah. I mean, anything can happen. I agree with you, Larry, 100%. I think Adam Silver should definitely implement at least a 2-year rule. And I think that would rebuild the brand of college basketball a lot quicker than anything else could. Guys, any final thoughts on that before we move to the real sauce, which is Coach Calipari leaving Kentucky for Arkansas? Any final thoughts real quick, guys?
No, I'm good.
Think we're good to go. Yeah, Coach Cal leaving Kentucky, leaving Lexington for Fayetteville. SEC to SEC East, SEC West. Raise your hand if you saw this coming. Todd said he did.
No, he didn't.
Yeah. Hey, anyway, I did not. Eric Musselman out, John Calipari in. The chain of events started with the firing of SMU and former Georgia State head coach Rob Lanier, which immediately hired now former USC head coach Andy Enfield, leading to Musselman taking the USC job. Did you stay with there? Because it's a chain reaction for sure, folks.
Yep.
Again, SMU, Rob Lanier out. They get USC's Enfield. Then Musselman goes, and here comes the train a-rolling. Arkansas reached out, and they got him. John Calipari leaving Kentucky after, 400-something wins there, 30-something tournament wins there, a national championship, a couple Final Four runs, lots of success. But, hey, here we go. Now Calipari's the 14th head coach in Razorback basketball history. Won't face nearly as much pressure in Fayetteville. The NIL money is there with Jerry Jones and several other big-name donors. And Musselman had some serious success in Arkansas. Remember, they made 2 Elite 8 runs in a row there. Arkansas has won the national championship under who is it? Nolan Richardson.
Richardson.
Yeah,
Nolan
Nolan
Richardson.
Richardson in '94. So they have some basketball success, and honestly, I think this stemmed from a press conference. When an AD comes out and has to have a press conference to reassure the fan base that this is our head coach, I think you move from an established head coach to a year-to-year head coach. And
Yeah.
if next season he did much of the same, has 20, 22, 23, 24 wins, one and done, or maybe, 0 and done out in the first round in the tournament, he's probably going to get fired anyway. And that's just the pressure of Kentucky. That's what comes with it up in Big Blue Nation. So I think this is a move where Calipari goes, you know what? I think I have run my course here. I've won a national title. I've done pretty much everything I can do at this school. Came close to an undefeated season, remember, a couple years ago. So I think it was just a time of looking in the mirror and saying, you know what? I think I can go to Fayetteville, get a new surge of energy for coaching. And there are some things said by Calipari saying NIL will be ready. He won't have to go and do that like he did at Kentucky. I don't know about that, but I do know Calipari is now a Razorback, and it's the most interesting college basketball move that I can remember in quite some time. Larry, your thoughts?
I think this puts Calipari back where he is most comfortable because, with the exception of the New Jersey Nets, which is now the Brooklyn Nets job, and then, of course, Kentucky, most of everything that he's ever done has been either mid-major or just a tad or a tick above mid-major level in his college career. You know, and you take it all the way back to UMass. UMass was nothing before he got there, and he was able to recruit Marcus Camby and got some players around that and had some great years with him. You know, Wayne, you can talk about it the most because you saw him in Memphis for how many years?
Well, plenty.
You know, and yeah, and Memphis wasn't that big of a program, and then he made it a big program. You know, I think that's his niche. I mean, he had some success at Kentucky. He did win a chip, but I don't think that's. I think he wants to get the people that he can coach for more than just 1 year. I think the one and done was wearing him out. I think he wants people he can coach for 2 and maybe even possibly 3 years and really try to build a program that can compete. Because you could have had John Wooden. I don't even think he would be successful in the one and done era because it's literally like being in a washing machine cycle every year. You recruit, you put them there, you coach them, they leave. Now you got to recruit again and do the same thing. You're not going to have anything of anybody that you had that you spent any energy, time, and money into right on campus again because they're out. They're looking for either the next big dollar or the next big flashlight. And it's unfortunate because that also contributes to why the men's college basketball game falters the way it does. But kudos for him finding a way to be able to get out of Kentucky with a amicable kind of deal, for lack of a better term. He starts afresh there in Fayetteville. They'll love him. He won't have the pressure. He'll be able to recruit. He'll be able to do his thing. I give him a couple of years, and he'll be right back in the tournament doing Calipari things. But listen, I knew something was going to come, but I didn't see this. Not in a million years did I ever see this. But good for Kentucky. They can go get them their next person to drive that ship. Good for Coach Cal as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't see it coming, like I mentioned. I personally thought he was going to get fired.
Yeah.
I'll be in that boat. I didn't say he was going to get fired for say, but let me rephrase that. I would not have been surprised if he was fired the Monday after the tournament loss to Oakland. But I said, you know what, guys? He got beat by an unbelievable shooting performance from an unbelievable shooter. Look, that Golke guy had only attempted 4 2-pointers all year.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nuts. But anyway, speaking of your transfers, look, these mid-major coaches, man, they got to be just at this transfer portal. Indiana State Guy builds a program up there. All 5, like 4 or 5 of his starters. Bye-bye, transfer portal. See you later. You're going to get bigger NIL deals. So how can you build up a program like this? I agree with you, Larry. I don't think John Wooden could compete in this. Heck, let's put any fictional movie coach in there. Coach Carter, well, he was real, but any fictional movie coach, Bud Kilmer, football, it doesn't matter. The one and done, I don't care who you are. It's going to be tough to build a program like that. Wayne, you know John Calipari from your Memphis days. Tell us your thoughts about this move from Lexington to Fayetteville.
Well, I was having a discussion with somebody. I don't know if it was on the phone or in person, but, we were talking about the recruiting difference from Lexington to Fayetteville. And he reminded me, and I think he was correct in reminding me, that the players weren't recruited to Lexington because of Lexington. It was because of Calipari. And they're not going to be attracted to Northeast Arkansas because of Fayetteville. It's going to be because of Northwest Arkansas. It's because of Calipari being there. The other question is what's Kentucky going to do next? And 2 of the names that I would like to see considered, because I'm not a Kentucky fan, would be Tom Crean and Josh Pastner. I think either one of those 2 would be great for Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky's going to have their fill. They're gonna bring the hammer. I said a guy that he may be ready to make the switch. I don't know, but Gonzaga's Mark Feud.
Possibly. He's entrenched.
He makes
though.
the jump to a big time school later in his career. Maybe Oates down at Alabama makes another lateral move in the SEC, but I think he stays. I think he's got himself something brewing down there in Tuscaloosa. I think an under the radar hire would be Georgia's head coach Mike White. He had some success at Florida. He just went to a Final Four in the NIT. Maybe they see that as a catapult into some momentum in Lexington, but they're going to get their guy. They're going to get their guy that they want, and they're going to throw the books at anybody. I've heard Billy Donovan's name being thrown around. I wonder if the Celtics. I can't remember the former Butler coach. Then he was the head coach at the Celtics. Now he's in their front office. I can't remember his name. It's spacing me. Maybe he gets a call. But Butler went to back-to-back national title games and lost there. Who
Brad
knows?
Stevens.
Anything's open. Larry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying you talking about Brad Stevens?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Brad Stevens, that was it. So who knows, man? Kentucky can get their guy. Larry, you have any quick names you want to throw in for the Kentucky job?
The only 2 that come to mind real quick, fast, and in a hurry. I'm trying to figure out what his name is, but Creighton's coach. I think that he could put his name in, and I think that he could potentially be a name that would be an under the radar hire. I'll tell you somebody else that may even be a under the radar hire, and that's Marquette's head coach.
Shaka Smart.
Those 2 schools, both of those 2 schools could both have. Either one of those 2 head coaches could be under the radar hires and be good ones for Kentucky. I think it would be similar to what the Bill Self hire was for Kansas when Roy Williams left to go to North Carolina. I think that could be that similar fill-in for when Coach Cal leaves, and they could slide right in there. You got a ready-made program that's already built. Just go grab your players and let's run with it,
I like those names. And when you're searching for head coaches and you're in our business, there's no wrong answer. It's the best part about it. All right, guys, that wraps up our March Madness talk, Major League Baseball talk prior. Let's get into our final thoughts here. Wayne, tee us off for the final thoughts, man. Pun intended.
Well, after an upsetting loss in the last few minutes to the Brahmas, the Memphis Showboats will travel down to Birmingham and face the Stallions next. So we're hoping for a better outcome versus the Stallions.
As Showboat football is underway, the UFL gaining some traction with the 2 leagues merging. Very, very interesting to watch. 64-yard walk-off field goal in the opening week. So Hey, if that's what wets your whistle, watch it. It's pretty competitive football from what I've seen. I only watched a couple plays here and there, but it definitely seems a little bit more competitive than some other spring football leagues of years past. Larry, your final thought of the evening, man.
Yeah, it's a kind of two-parter, A and B. The NFL draft is just a few weeks away, and we all know that the Atlanta Falcons need edge rush.
Yeah.
Please, oh please, oh please, oh please, oh please, do yourself a favor. Pay attention to where these guys are scattered out at. My number one pick, if they stay with edge rush, I still want Latu from UCLA. That's my guy. I don't care injury records aside. That's my guy. But don't reach for Dallas Turner or Jared Verse just because you feel a need and you miss out on somebody else that could very, very well complement your team. Just making a reach. That's part A. Part B, the Atlanta Hawks have got a problem. And they've got to decide, are you going to keep DeJounte or are you going to keep Trey? Because they can't play together. We've already seen it. And it's sad because both of them are so well skilled at what they do. But the Atlanta Hawks have got to make a choice. And if from what I've seen throughout the trade deadline take place, if the Atlanta Hawks cannot get any more for either one of those trade pieces than what we saw other GMs get, then we don't have a talent problem. We have a GM problem.
Well said. Yeah, the Hawks are in a dilemma. They do not complement each other well, Murray and Young. Which one goes, which one stays? That is the new song being played in the Atlanta Hawks locker room. I just don't know if they're good enough with both of them to get over that hump of the play-in. It's what they're locked in for right now. My final thought revolves around a tradition unlike any other. The Masters begins Thursday. A few tee time updates. Tiger Woods will be playing and is looking to break the record for the most cuts made in Masters history. If he's able to do that, he will break that record. I believe it's 24. He will tee off at 1:24 p.m. Thursday afternoon. Rory McIlroy, 10:42 a.m. Live golfer and reigning Masters champ John Rahm, 10:30 a.m. They put all the live guys early. I don't like that. Phil Mickelson, 9:36 a.m. DeChambeau, 8:48 a.m. Guys, I'm ready for the Masters. Ricky Fowler won the par 3 earlier Wednesday afternoon. No par 3 champion has ever taken the title in the tournament. Little fun fact there. But I'm going to make a bold prediction. My wild card golfer, live golfer, Hakeem Neiman, tied for 16th at Augusta last year. His 5th Masters appearance. I think he's ready to climb that leaderboard. And I do think a live golfer wears the green jacket this year. That's my final thought. It's Masters weekend. Let's have some fun with it. For Larry in Adairsville, Wayne in Memphis, I'm JJ in Lilburn. Thanks for watching. If you like the content, please like, subscribe, and follow us at ATL Prime Sports. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you later. Get you one.